So when you look at this draft class, obviously we know the big names, but who's your sleeper to win Rookie of the Year this season?
I still think Flagg's going to win it, but the sleeper would be Jeremiah Fears probably of Oklahoma.
Okay.
He's really gifted and can really score. I don't know that he's going to get fouled at the same rate in the NBA that he did in college. He found a way to the free throw line like crazy. But, if I remember right, I think he got drafted by New Orleans, number 7. And then they wound up trading up to get Derek Queen. So those 2 good players they got at 7 and 10, or something like that. I can't remember, 7 and 13, whatever it was. But they're I think with his talent level, he could put some numbers up. He's not a great shooter yet, but I think he's going to develop into a really good shooter. And, you guys know how it is more than I do. Like, what you are as an 18-year-old doesn't necessarily reflect what you're going to be as a 25-year-old. And so these guys got a lot of growth in front of them.
Most that Fears also arguably has the best jersey in the league now, 0 Fears.
Yeah.
That Fears 0, just rocking the 0. But let's talk a little bit Spurs. Obviously, they had the last 2 Rookie of the Year winners, Wemby, Stephon Castle. Now have Dylan Harper coming in. How will Dylan Harper fit in with this Spurs squad, in your opinion?
I think he'll fit in great. Like from my seat, I thought that San Antonio needed to get shooting and another big guy to kind of take some pressure off Wemby. I don't know that Dylan Harper necessarily fills the shooting role. He can make shots. He's not you wouldn't call him like this knockdown perimeter shooter, but he's the best pick and roll guard in the draft this year. And you put him in screen roll situations with Wembanyama, and that's going to be pretty formidable. And he's strong, left-handed, can get to the rim, make a variety of shots, and he makes really good reads. I think he's going to become, because he's got good length, he'll become a more impactful defender. And he's got an NBA body, and he just kind of knows how to play. And he's just he's a really potent scorer. And he played with Ace Bailey, and to have those 2 guys average, both 18, 19 a game, and both of them put up like I think it was back-to-back. I'm trying to remember. Dylan Harper had back-to-back 35-point games, and they're playing in the Big Ten. It's not like they're playing against bad competition. And then Ace Bailey had a 39-point game against Indiana. I think he had 38 against Northwestern. Those guys could fill it. They just didn't have anybody around them, and so they wound up being a 500 team, basically.
So most definitely. So you talked about Dylan Harper at Rutgers, his teammate Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey probably the biggest story of the draft. Obviously trying to force his way, I think, to Brooklyn. Did not work out. Jazz.
To Wizards.
Wizards were going to trade him to the Nets.
No, he wasn't.
You crazy, Gil.
You crazy as hell.
You crazier.
You're crazy.
Dope
you think we was going to draft him to trade him.
That's what the report.
Well, you didn't get. I don't care what the report said. You got to be on the call. You got to be in the email. We was telling Brooklyn whatever. We was getting them. Bam. Let's go.
On the text chain, but obviously did not work. Jazz take him with the 5th pick. So what do you make of the whole Ace Bailey situation? Not the first time we've seen players try to force their way to their preferred team, but obviously got a lot of heat as a result of that. So what do you make of the Ace Bailey situation? How do you think it will play out with the Jazz?
I was okay with the pre-draft stuff. Look, if you don't work out for somebody, don't work out for them. If you're willing to be taken lower, you're giving up a lot of money to do it. But if you're willing to do that, that's fine. And it just, to me, if John Elway did it and Eli Manning did it, and I know it was football, but if they did that, they were considered to be savvy and smart and all this stuff. I don't see what the difference is. I didn't, just my personal opinion, I didn't really care for if you schedule a workout, show up for the workout. If you don't want to go, don't schedule it. That's the only thing. That's just a professionalism thing. And then I thought, I don't want to bag on the media here, but like I tried to just sort of wait and see when he didn't sort of do what everybody seems to do, which is you get drafted, the next day you're on a plane to whatever team drafted you, have a press conference the next day. It's 2 rounds now, so it's not the normal procedure that it used to be. He showed up a couple days later, and he's played summer league and all that stuff. He's doing what he's supposed to do. So I thought the speculation about will he show up, will he not show up was a little bit much. If he doesn't show up, then we can talk about it. But I don't think we needed to do that until we saw something there. So it's just, but that's the way it is now. Like you're gonna get some heat over things like that when you do it differently. And I think he and his advisors probably knew that. And as long as they're okay with it, why would I care? I mean, if he went 6, 7, 8, something like that, because he didn't want to work out for teams that he wasn't quite as interested in, whether it was Philly or Charlotte or Utah, I mean, that's a lot of money he's given up. Mm-hmm. And if he's willing to do that, why should I question it?
So you think players today are more interested in where they go versus how much they make?
No. I think he was a different case. Like this was different. Usually what happens is they'll go and work out for the teams that are in their draft range. Doesn't mean they have to work out. They go have dinner, get to know people, all that stuff. Everybody kicks the tires. I don't happen to think that those workouts for teams are all that valuable, but I do think spending time with people is, and letting them get to know you and you get to know them. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just most people I think most people look at NBA players and NBA draftees as, hey, I'd trade places with those guys. They're lucky to be there. They should kind of do what they're told. I think that's what a lot of fans think. They don't look at ownership the same way. Like ownership makes a hell of a lot more money than the players make. And they're not looking at how much they're making and all that. They're just kind of looking at the players. And I've never been a believer in that. This is America. And if they're not members of the union until they sign their contracts and all that, but they're protected by the union, which is a nice thing. But you're bound by some of these draft rules. And if you want to try to do what you think is right to manipulate the draft in your favor, look, he wound up going 5th to Utah. So I don't know whether he looks at that as having worked out for him or not. But going number 5, I mean, I haven't seen one thing that since he's been drafted where he hasn't said the right thing or struck the right tone. I don't know Ace Bailey. I've watched him play a lot, but I don't know him personally. But from what I've seen, he seems like a really nice young man. And I think for the most part, when I've seen an interview or something, he's handled himself really well. I mean, he's 18 years old. And what do we expect from these guys? And if he's getting advice or if he's running the show, it doesn't really matter. The one thing that's interesting about the draft and like the draft night, now it's 2 nights, but there's a celebratory aspect of the draft. And when I first started doing the draft, I was probably way more critical of players than I am now. But the day the draft is over, then it's time to deliver. And nobody cares where you got drafted. Are you going to deliver? And now we're in the are you going to deliver phase. And I watched some of the game the other night that he played, and he didn't have his best game shooting-wise, but he did some really good things. He's going to be a really good player if he sticks with it.
So speaking of that game, obviously Ace Bailey versus VJ Edgecombe in that Sixers game, Sixers Jazz. What'd you think about VJ? Obviously can't look too much into the Summer League. We've seen a lot of players that have gone on to have super successful careers not ball out in Summer League, but VJ coming in, dropping 28 in his pro debut.
28?
The number of points doesn't really matter to me because you've seen guys get 40 in those games that didn't go on and do as well as
everybody.
And then you see other guys didn't play well at all. They had great careers. But Edgecombe's really talented. He's probably the best athlete in the draft. And I'm always I try to be careful about saying this, but he reminds me of like a 19-year-old Victor Oladipo, or maybe even a 18-year-old, 19-year-old Dwayne Wade. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to reach those heights, but at that age, hard to tell the difference between those guys. And I mentioned Grant Hill before. I was a grad assistant at Duke when Grant was a player, his first 2 years there. And if Grant had come out of college as a freshman in 1991, it was 91. If he would have come out, the knock on him, they would say, well, he can't shoot. Like, he's a great athlete, great defender, can handle it, all these super talented, but he can't shoot. Well, he could shoot by the time he was a senior. And then his first 7 years in the league, he had he was among the most productive players in NBA history over a 7-year period before he got hurt. Oh, wow. And that's why I've always kind of called him the Sandy Koufax of the NBA. He had Hall of Fame credentials after 7 years, and that injury, it almost cost him his life, but he still wound up playing 18, 19 years in the league and had a Hall of Fame career.
All right, so let's shift over to the college side. So as part of the settlement.